Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 680 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So I want you to go out and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, I get to bring my favorite social media influencers onto this show, and today is definitely one of those days. I absolutely crack up at her content on social media every day because it's so nostalgic for me. As somebody who went to college at the University of Buffalo, a large portion of our Greek system happened to be students from Long Island, Rockland County, where I'm from, and many of them are Jewish. Many of them went to summer camp every single summer their entire childhood. So you have to understand my identity is part Jewish, part Israeli, and also part New Yorker, which has so much humor embedded within all of those pieces of identity. And we can talk about that for months, but we're going to talk about it for the next half hour on this episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And so our next guest is Chloe Hechter. She's based in New York City. She graduated from Syracuse University in May of 2023 with a Bachelor of Science in Communication and Rhetorical Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Writing. She has an avid social media presence and following on social media, and she's used her platform to tell relatable stories about being a 20-something and to create niche content for the Jewish community. She also is absolutely hilarious. Welcome to the show, Chloe.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. I've been enjoying your content for a long time now, and I finally got the nerve to say, hey, can we just have a conversation on the show? And I'm super grateful that you said yes. So thank you and welcome. I'm wondering, so I'm a University of Buffalo guy, and I would pass through Syracuse every time on my way up to school. So I'm wondering, why did you choose Syracuse University for your undergraduate experience?
So it's actually really funny. The reason I chose it was because I actually initially was planning on going to college for a degree in acting. I was intending on going to a BFA program in acting conservatory, but I also wanted to go to like a big, fun campus school. So the schools I was looking at were like schools that had big, fun campuses and top 10 theater programs. So those schools are, I don't know if you're familiar with this process. It's like you have to audition to get into these programs. It's the most intense and grueling process ever. So I was looking at Syracuse, Michigan, Penn State has a really good theater program. U Miami has a really good theater program. It's like really random schools happen to also have these programs. And just like out of all the schools I toured, Syracuse happened to have been my favorite. I found Michigan a little bit big and overwhelming, and I didn't really see myself in Miami, but I loved Syracuse, felt at home right when I toured. And at the time, I also, when I was like really wanting to do theater, also really loved like the structure of their acting program. And then of course, after one semester in the theater program, COVID hit, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this. So I ended up switching my major like kind of during COVID. But Syracuse, hands down, was the right choice, regardless of my intended major. And I do think it was a blessing in disguise because had I intended on majoring in communications from the get-go, I probably would have chosen like Northwestern or something.
Mhm.
But I was meant to go to Syracuse for sure.
Yeah.
And it was truly like my home.
Yeah, it obviously all worked out for you. And don't
Yeah.
sleep on Syracuse. If you've never been to the campus, go to
No,
the campus.
I think it's like the best school ever. People love to sleep on it and
Yeah,
dismiss it almost as like a state school, but it's not.
right.
I could defend Syracuse for hours. It was an amazing school.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before you say anything about Syracuse, go and visit and actually walk the campus. And when you see how beautiful it is and how much school pride they have, athletics, fraternity and sorority life, they have everything. So don't sleep on Syracuse. That's all I'm going to say to all the haters out there.
Yeah, I also find Syracuse to be a very happy place.
Yeah.
It's like hard to be sad, even though it's cold all the time. I feel like the energy on campus is always so like happy and positive.
Totally agree. And you joined Alpha Epsilon Phi there. I'm wondering,
Yes.
what role did the sorority play in your personal growth and your confidence?
You know what? Again, freshman year, I was a theater major, and I honestly at the time like didn't know if I was going to switch my major, and I wanted to make friends outside of the drama program. It was kind of as simple as that. And I knew I wanted to join, like, obviously, AEFI was founded on Jewish values, and a lot of the time at Syracuse, it is predominantly Jewish. Obviously, they don't discriminate against people who aren't Jewish, but I knew I wanted to be in one of there's AEFI and SDT, and I knew I wanted to be in one of the Jewish ones, and I just felt more at home in AEFI. Um, but yeah, I met some of my best friends who are still my best friends to this day. Met my friend Phoebe, who I would end up, living with for 2 years in school. And yeah, I mean, it honestly just gave me like lifelong friends. I wasn't the type of person who was so hyper involved in the sorority. I was more like, I'm here to make friends. I'm not necessarily here to like be the president of, you know?
Yeah, I'm the only one who's crazy enough to hold like every position on exec board and then graduate senior year as president of the chapter. It was nuts.
Wow, that's crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy. No, I was the president of a magazine on campus. I wasn't like running a sorority like the army. I was like girl number 27 during Rush. Like I wasn't, yeah.
I love that. And we're huge AE5 fans. I mean, Bonnie Wunsch is one of my dear friends, and I can't say enough good things about AE5. I think it's a phenomenal
Great,
sorority.
great.
Absolutely phenomenal. Now, you've built a huge audience, both on TikTok and Instagram, by leaning into your authentic personality, your experiences, instead of trying to fit into this generic influencer mold out there. So, why do you think this authenticity that you have? Why does that connect so strongly with Gen Z?
I think that, first of all, comedy is, I think, something so universal. Everyone likes to laugh. And when you're scrolling on social media, things can get so like depressing and toxic, even if you don't intend for them to be. Like a lot of influencer videos are even like aspirational lifestyles. And I love those videos. I make some of those videos. But at the same time, not every person scrolling on their phone can relate to that aspirational lifestyle, and they can see that and be like, oh, like, what am I doing wrong? Why don't I have this product? It's very consumer based. And I think when you're doing sketch comedy, it is something that everyone can like, sigh a breath of relief and say like, okay, like, and there's this girl who makes like silly videos. And while obviously I like to say it's Jewish. It's Jewish coded. It has Jewish undertones, but I'm not like a Hasbara creator. I'm not like making videos of POV or lighting Shabbat candles. I'm just doing like college, summer camp, and I'll like hint that it's Jewish, but I won't fully be in there. My audience has become quite diverse because I've tried to really universalize. Is that a word? Universalize? I
Sure.
don't know. My experience is like my experience was in AE5, but most people who went to college have been to a frat party. Or even if you haven't been to sleepaway camp, you've been in a circumstance where you're going through puberty and you're getting ready for a dance. And so everyone can relate to that type of content. And to that, I do think for me, I want people to understand that Jewish people aren't this like scary other that you need to be wary of because anti-Semitism has become so normalized now that I just want to show like, hi, I'm just like literally every single other girl in New York City. I am not some ridiculously like, othered person. I don't root myself in religious practices. I'm not, I don't really get political on my page either. I just try to keep everything light. Obviously, if there's like a great tragedy that happens, I'll post about it. But aside from that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I did not join Sammy or AE and so I think it was very interesting when I joined, where I had brothers who had never met anybody who was Jewish before. Like I
Wow.
was
Yeah.
literally
I
their first Jewish
actually
friend.
at school I went on, I don't even know if you could call them dates, but I like would study in the library with this boy and he like really liked me. And he said he, before coming to Syracuse, had never met a Jewish person. And I was like texting my friends, I was like, am I wrong to not like reciprocate? Like I'm like I can't connect with him. Like
Yeah, where are we going to connect? I
I
mean,
was
I
like,
have no
I he's
idea.
never met a Jew before coming to Syracuse. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I had multiple fraternity brothers that is literally what they told me. And so we've built up great friendships over the years together. And so they're certainly better as a result of that. And I think that is one of the beauties of my chapter is we were so diverse, and I've come to appreciate that over time. So that's been good, but I also feel like I missed out also on some other experiences that I probably could have had I joined AEPI or Sammy.
Right,
But
sure.
everything works out for a reason, I think. So it's okay. And what I really like about you is you've said before that you're not afraid to be cringe, which I love, 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 because I'm not afraid either. I literally got a DM on Instagram from a fraternity guy who's like, "Bro, so cringe." And I'm like,
You have to push past the cringe
yeah,
because once you get past that initial, like, oh my God, this is so cringy, that's what people want to keep watching. Like, they're not going to keep watching something that feels so mundane. Like, if you think about like Saturday Night Live, I don't know if you're a Saturday Night Live person,
sure, yeah.
but to me, like, the best current cast member, like, the best woman current cast member, I would say, she will like do a skit of her like farting or putting like mashed potatoes on her face. And she's so brilliantly funny. Her name's Ashley Padilla. You have to look her up. I such a huge fan of hers. Hope she sees this shout out. She won't. Um, but it's roles like that that are like you just are gonna have to do it. You know, you think every actor in every role is like this is so normal. No, I mean, if you even watch Euphoria, it's like what they're doing is like it's disgusting. Like you have to just push past it. It's entertainment at its core. And I was just talking to I work with Lost Tribe a lot. And I was just talking to Noah Solomon, who is one of the main content creators at Lost Tribe. And we were talking about how social media acting is a lot different than like if you were to, be in a play or be in a movie. You're really overacting and being that cringe. Um, but people will stop cringing once the followers start to go up. That's what happens.
You're so right. You're so right. And I also know the Saturday Night Live skit you're talking about where they're like on a date and they're trying to make each other's
Make each other
exes
jealous.
jealous.
Yes. And she was like,
I knew,
they were
yeah,
rubbing mashed potatoes on each other. I
yeah,
mean, because it's like
hilarious.
you gotta have some chutzpah to be able to like be like, I'm gonna go on national television and I'm gonna like rub mashed potatoes on my face. Like, and I commend her for that.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a great skit. And I mean, obviously, you post a lot of comedy content, but behind the scenes, I know because as a creator, I get it. There's clearly strategy behind what you're doing. There's
Oh yeah.
writing, there's analytics, there's editing work, there's branding work, there's consistency that you're putting in over time. So, what are some of the business lessons that you've learned from growing your platform to where you are today?
My biggest business lesson that I learned is I should have taken a business class in school. Because I didn't. It wasn't required, and I think it absolutely should be required. Syracuse is actually starting something called the creator economy, which is essentially a content creation major. And they are including business classes in that. And I'm like, oh, I would have really benefited because when you like, I work for myself. I'm my own LLC. I'm my own boss. I wish I'd had more knowledge of like running a business. Thankfully, my father actually also runs his own business, so any kind of, internal financial questions, I can't ask my dad. I wish I didn't have to. I wish these were things I knew on my own.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so much strategy. The number one strategy is consistency. I would say if you post every day or at the very least every other day, the algorithm will start to recognize your face. The other thing is you have to try, and this is really hard now, but to do something no one's ever done before.
Mhm.
Because there are so many creators now, and if you're just another like white girl in the West Village posting her outfits, like you might not blow up unless you have some like radical take on what you're doing, or unless you're like really, really funny or have a crazy story to share. Um, and I always knew I wanted to write comedy. I, like I said, you mentioned before, like I have a BA in writing.
Mhm.
I actually graduated from the writing honors program at Syracuse, which I was actually just my memory was 3 years ago today I graduated, which is so scary. I'm like gold. But they like it was like I had a special little stole that said writing honors, which is cool. I always brag about that. But yeah, I love writing. Writing's like my biggest passion, and I feel like I wish I could write more long form. Like that's like an ultimate life goal. Like that's kind of what I hope this will turn into.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like people fail to recognize how much like writing goes into everything. I also plan everything because I do brand partnerships. That's how I pay the bills. And so you have to be careful. Like, you don't want to post too many brand partnerships because then it looks like you're selling out. And I had one brand partnership go up, I think it was on Monday. And I have another one that I'm like, due to post. But I was like saying to my manager yesterday, I was like, I have to post something funny in between the two brand partnerships because like I can't have two in a row. Like that can't be what my page looks like, you know? It's really interesting. And yeah, I mean, you have to learn like or I have like different content pillars, so it's like I'm gonna post a skit and then I'm gonna actually film myself. I'm going to Italy next week, so and then I'm gonna film my like pack with me for Italy. Like you kind of have to just figure out where everything goes.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like all of that. So thank you for sharing that. And I think everybody gets little pieces of what they need. You had that BA in writing, and certainly that helps you today. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, so I had that business sense, but I had no writing, right? So I had to discover that writing piece for me. And for me, that really didn't even come until my doctorate degree when I was writing all the time. We have
Right.
no exams in a doctorate program. It's just writing nonstop. Every
Wow.
week, you are just writing, 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 writing. So I never had that as an undergrad, but I had the business piece, right? So
Right.
I think everybody gets little pieces of what they need, and then ultimately you find where you need to go, and then you can
Yeah,
fill in where you're light, right? So this is really, really interesting. And you've also talked about wanting better representation of reform and cultural Judaism in the media.
absolutely.
So, what do you think mainstream media gets wrong about Jewish young adults?
Mainstream media loves to make the Jewish representation either like very political, very religious, or very almost like cartoonish. I feel like also oftentimes like the Reformed Jewish characters in Gen Z media are men. For example, I always find that like when Mindy Kaling writes a show about like Gen Z, which don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of hers and I'm a huge fan of her TV shows.
Yeah.
But like in the show Never Have I Ever, there is a Jewish character, a Gen Z Jewish character. He's reformed, he's not religious. His name is I think it's Ben Gross. And like his dad's a lawyer. Like he's got that Jewishness to him, but he's a guy and the main girl is his love interest and she's not Jewish. She's the whole like plot of it is she's Indian
Mhm.
and I'm all for obviously interracial relationships and I love having representation on all sides of the coin, but I think it would be interesting if the roles were flipped and if the main female character was Jewish. Because I will say like his role was very seamlessly like integrated and normal and in a lot of and then Mindy Kaling also has another show coming out called Not Suitable for Work, which is about Murray Hill. And I was expecting an audition. I was expecting an all Jewish cast, one Jewish character, and it's a guy. So I'm always like, hmm. And when you think about like funny Reformed Jews, You think like Adam Sandler, Andy Samberg, Larry David, again, all men, also all like middle-aged. And so
Yeah, fair.
I'm like thinking about like who's like a cool young Jewish woman to look up to. And that's what I want to be because I will say like the cool Jewish women I look up to, like people have been, do you know who Rachel Bloom is? Like that's my idol and she's more of a niche. She's obviously she's recognized, but she's more like you gotta like know to know
Mhm,
Rachel Bloom.
mhm,
And I love that Sarah Sherman is becoming more mainstream, but I will say again, she's really like quirky and cartoonish. I feel like I'm just a very like normal girl. Like I'm kind of just like, yeah, like I do all the same things everyone else does. I just also like happen to create content and be Jewish, you know?
mhm. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you've identified something that's missing, certainly from the mainstream. So who knows? That could be you. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I'm
throwing it out
hoping
there.
that's the goal. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I hope
but
they pick me.
this is also a difficult time for Jewish students because today I think college students who are Jewish, they feel isolated at times. They feel anxious because of the rising anti-Semitism that we see on college campuses and also online too. There's a ton
Yeah.
of it. So what message would you give all of these Jewish students right now?
It's so hard to give just one message. Like some of the comments I get online, like it blows my mind every time how open people are about identifying themselves as Nazis. Like I will get comments being like, I am a Nazi. I love Hitler. How did I end up on your page?
Wow.
Like it's not even subtle, you know? And I'm like, what? Like, why are you? And then, you click on the account and you see like I saw one account that I was going to block, and the bio was like, no followers because the Jews got my other account banned, or so, like it was something crazy like that. So people are lunatics, and I think my best advice would be you do really need to have a Jewish community or at least a Jewish friend or your family that you do really talk to about these things. I think it's so important to have other Jews with whom you can relate on these topics. I mean, obviously, like, I went to camp and I was in AE5, so like I would say about 80% of my friends are Jewish and obviously my family, my boyfriend. But I think for some Jewish students, like, they're not in these programs, maybe they're at a school that doesn't have a Hillel or have those clubs and they feel isolated. I do think finding those communities is so important, but I also think it's important to diversify your circles and find people who aren't Jewish and teach them about what's going on in the world, about why anti-Semitism is wrong, about ways they can be an ally in a healthy way, obviously. Like, you don't have to be like, okay, and now you have to go fight for me on the, whatever. But just to be able to like recognize like if someone says something that is anti-Semitic, you could be like, hey, like that was anti-Semitic. I think, yeah.
Well, let's jump into that. There are a large fraternity and sorority community on many of these campuses that we're talking about here. How can fraternity and sorority members, let's say that are not in a Jewish fraternity or
Yeah.
sorority, how can they become better allies for the Jewish students on campus?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I do think, a lot of schools offer like Judaism 101. It's same as like, any other religion. Like I think there also is like Christianity 101, Islam 101. Like there are courses like that. But I do think it could be interesting to, you know, require a course on a culture or a religion that is not your own. And, obviously this doesn't fully tackle anti-Semitism because not everyone's gonna pick Judy. Like you can't like, be like, you have to take Judaism. Like that's crazy. But I do think like it could be interesting for people to be able to learn about other cultures. And I think also, like AEFI, we would always host like a challah bake, or a lot of our charities were Jewish charities. And our philanthropy events would be available to everyone on campus. And I think that's a great way for people to learn. I think SDT's philanthropy, and if anyone's listening and they're in SDT and I'm wrong, please correct me. I think their philanthropy is actually Jewish Women's International, which is really cool. And they would have events on campus for that. I mean, ours was there was we did Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS, which is Jewish founded, and Sharsheret is obviously Jewish.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to be able to like Syracuse had a class called Great Jewish Writers. I mean, there were some great courses, and obviously not every school is going to have that, and not every school like has, a Hillel or a Chabad. Combined them and was like Chabara. Like, what was I saying? But yeah, I mean, hopefully people are just open to educating themselves. There's so much shit, pardon my French, that gets thrown around the internet. And frankly, like, if I hadn't known certain things before, I might believe differently than I do believe based on certain things that you see. So sometimes you can't even blame people for thinking what they think because they've been fed misinformation and brainwashed and propagandized. So, I think education is truly the key.
Yeah.
In
I appreciate that perspective. That is really, really important. And thank you for sharing that. Now, let's assume for a moment that Lauren Michaels, the creator of Saturday Night Live, is listening to this right now. And I know you want to write for Saturday Night Live someday. Like, I totally get this. So tell Lauren Michaels, what would your dream sketch be?
Okay, so I did a bit on TikTok when I first like started posting on TikTok. It did not go viral at all. Rip. But I did like the girl who bullied you at sleepaway camp goes on Weekend Update. And she was like, "Oh my God, Colin, like you would have been so good as color war captain." Like, you know what I mean? Like she's like bantering and like flirting with Colin Jost and Michael Che. I think that would be really funny. I have like a lot of different bits that I think would work for SNL that aren't my typical content on social media. Like I want to do this bit. I have this bit in my head that I would do if I ever got my SNL audition. Um, that's the person in a workout class that's like so loud and like gross. I was behind a man in a hot yoga class and he was shirtless and barefoot and he was like drenched in sweat and he was just every move he was like but I mean I would do it like as just like a woman. I would just maybe like whatever. But like they're just people who get so like into it in a class, and I'm like, get your sweaty toe out of my face. I would do that. I also do a very good like Midwestern mother impression, which I know is like really random. Um, so I would probably do something like that. Um, but yeah, I have a lot of skit ideas.
Fantastic. I love all of them. I think your content is hilarious. And who knows? We're going to tag Lauren Michaels here and we'll see what he thinks about the idea.
I would love for Lorne Michaels to notice me. He won't, but I would love for him to notice me. I ran into one of the guys who does like Please Don't Destroy at a bar last year, and I was like, what do I have to do? And he was like, "Do you ever live stream?" And I was like, "Not really." And he was like, "I don't know. That was my only advice." I was like, "Great. Okay, that was so helpful." So
Thanks for nothing.
so we'll see.
So good. So good. Well, listen, I love really good food. And, I still have family that live in the New York City area, Rockland
Yeah.
County area. So I'm wondering the next time I end up in New York City, where should I go for a good meal these days?
Okay, well, it depends on what kind of food you like. What are you into?
Oh my God, I'm into everything. So anything Asian, always yes.
Okay,
I mean, but of course, I go back for the pizza and the bagels too, because I
right.
can't get that
So
locally in Nashville.
Apollo Bagels is like the new thing, and I will say it is worth the hype.
Okay.
I don't find pop-up bagels to be worth the hype. Apollo Bagels is 100% worth the hype. It is so good. It's like an open face, like locked, so good. And then my favorite sushi in New York is Momoya, specifically the location in Chelsea. There are three. The Chelsea one is better than the other two. I can't explain it. It just is. I love American Bar. I think that's a classic New York spot. Where else? I just ate, oh, Opto is really good. 19 Cleveland is Tel Avivian owned, and it's like modern Israeli food kind of. It's like Israeli with like a little like New York twist. It's good.
Nice.
Um, yeah, there are a lot of places I could keep going, but
Listen, I love that you know all the restaurants. This is great. So the next time I'm like in town, I'm going to ask you where the new hotspot is. But you've given me like five restaurants that I need to go check out. So I think I'm good for the next trip over. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah,
All right. So let's assume that our listeners want to bring you to their college campus to speak. They want to get in touch with you. They love your
yeah.
content. Where should they go in order to connect with you?
So follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's just my name, Chloe, Chloe, Hector, Hechter, and someone took my username, so I had to throw an extra R at the end. And you can't really argue with Meta, so. And then yeah, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok if you want to connect about, any kind of speaking engagements. My manager's email is in my bio. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Love your content. I'm going to continue to be a big fan. We'll push it out to all the fraternity and sorority members. And thank
Awesome.
you. Just keep
Thank
doing what you're
you.
doing.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. And to our listeners, if you learned something today from Chloe Hector, I want you to share this episode with your entire chapter. Drop a link in a group chat, share it on social media. You never know who needs to hear from Chloe today. Thanks so much for following us and listening. We will see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye.
Bye.